Hey, I'm Tassinix, and welcome to Plotting and Scheming, covering Season 68, 3 versus 3 Grand Arena Championship Week 3. As always, our show is focused around the thereabouts of the top 100 of Kyber 1, and I'm joined by my regular co-hosts, Dagger, TJ, Sasha Aisha, and Fatal. Gentlemen, decent week. Went, I want to say 2-1. But yeah, almost had the chance at the 3-0. Choked on the JMK Cat Exile Ezra, which I'm sure we'll be talking about at some length here today. But otherwise, pretty good week. Just saw the end of season results. Finished rank 3. Been a while since I finished a season that high, so feels like I'm moving in the right direction. How about you, Dagger?
First round was good. Second round, I lost on Fleet, and I didn't play my third round, so I went 1 and 2.
Understandable.
And we'll talk about how Ray is probably the most flexible and best GL for offense.
For the thing that you're probably going to get choked up on most in this meta, I think that's a fair case. Yeah, we'll get into that in a minute. TJ, how about you? How'd the week go?
Ended up getting the 2-1, so an 8-1 season. But I'm gonna give it to my opponent for the last round. He played it the right way, in my opinion. After thinking about it, again, we don't DGE at the time, so almost a perfect season. But I ended up, I think, ranked 19. So I'm definitely gonna be in it when we get back to fives.
Dig it. All right. Sasha, Aisha, how did it all end up for you?
Good. Hey, nice work, TJ. That's awesome. I had a fun week. I had 3 legit matches. I went 2-1, but I had Baby Yoda, Aesop, and Neo, and I will say the outcomes were pretty clearly defined by a couple of the really, really hard to beat squads that are out there that we'll touch on. Yeah, but it was a fun week.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff. And Fatal, last but not least, how did the plan unfurl?
2-1. Fuck, man. This season has gotten under my skin in a real way because, I mean, y'all have seen my streams. You know that, like, there are times where, like, sometimes you just want to do some shit and lose a match. And, like, the thing that you're sacrificing the match for is, like, fun enough. This season should have been 8-1. Like, my defense just performed massively the entire time. That, like, the wins were always in my lap, but I converted an 8-1 into like a 4-5. There were like 4 matches that were basically free wins that weren't.
Damn.
And so that's like end of season. I'm like looking back at that and I'm like, okay, there's like perhaps a little bit too many goofs, perhaps not enough like actually sealing the deal. So I'm not thrilled with that, but I mean the season itself was great overall. I mean, shit. The loss I took this week was, it was because the board split. And I can't tell you the last time that I was in a situation where the board split, so I had completely forgot that, it's like a 110 banner difference between, top and bottom of W3. Or it's like 107, I think is the actual number. Or something like that. It depends on Chip's softmax actual number. But,
it's 219 versus 260, right?
it's 438 versus like 545, I want to say.
Yeah, because it's 5 squads in that zone versus just the 3 in Fleet, not just 219, 260.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's genuinely like over 100 banner difference, but I wasn't actively tracking that gap. So I was just like, okay, so my opponent has like minus 110 banners from drops. So if I just drop this exactly one battle, or I was like calculating, I was just like, okay, I've only dropped one battle, I'm going to clear the rest, I should be good. And then get to the end of the match and I lost by 10 banners, and that minus 20 I took didn't need to happen. I was just like, are you... It's cool. It's cool that the map split. I haven't seen a map split in forever.
Yeah.
But goddamn it felt so bad to just be like, man, I had so many teams that could have one shot of gas. I didn't need to try a CLS. Like,
it'll be some years again before you let that bite you in the ass.
Yeah, it's just I don't know, man. Good season overall, good performance overall. I just need to tighten up on offense a bit, I guess. Like it was a score-wise waste of a good season. Otherwise,
Fair enough. All right, guys, let's get into the meat and potatoes here. So, yeah, closing up the season, I guess at the suggestion of Dagger here, we can talk about, just how we felt about the season in review. I guess we'll kind of switch it up in this way. We'll talk about the lessons learned, if that makes sense for you, Dagger. We'll talk about that more or less up front, and then right there at the end, we'll talk about our expectations, maybe for the next time we come back to 3. Does that work for you? Does that kind of meet your vision?
Yeah, my initial thought when you put down the meta report was like, cool, we can talk about the meta report, but it's like we're going into 5s coming up here, so it's like a week in review seems, or a season in review where we talk about what we liked or disliked about this season counter-wise, like what counters we liked, what counters we didn't, and then also we can talk about what we expect to remain the same next season. Like we're still going to have the Dracron, so like, do we feel like we're going to try two-shotting it? The JMK Cat Ezra thing seemed reasonably prohibitive if you didn't save Ray.
Yeah.
So, there's some stuff there where I think that there's some discussion worth having.
Well, why don't we do it like this? I mean, surely discussion about lessons learned or a wrap on the season is going to have to talk about anything new, which we should talk about, and that would be the JMK Cat Ezra at the very least, right? Yeah. So at least let's talk about that. I mean, and we probably won't go too deep into meta stuff in terms of there being new items. But JMK Cat Ezra was a bear. So all 3 rounds this week, I fought it. In round 1, I did a cooldown pull into Reva, Grand Inquisitor, Seventh Sister to take out just Cat, and then Queen, Master Qui-Gon, Padawan, Obi-Wan to clean the remainder with the Krennic Run. Round 2, I did, I want to say, a cooldown pull, just that, into Queen, Master Qui-Gon, Padawan, Obi-Wan, and was successful again. And then round 3, I did a cooldown pull, and then went in with Queen, and nothing doing. Just wasn't happening. Wasn't going to work out. Ended up having to siege, like, obviously with other cooldown pulls rolled into it. It was something altogether, like 15 attempts to clear that team, and by the special grace of the Force, I cleared the entire back wall. It was a really long project, but that was, and of course, JMK Cat Exile Ezra with the Hodocron. That's what made it extra sinister. Nasty bit of business. So that's kind of how I handled it. What about you guys?
I'm happy to jump in. I ran into it each of my 3 matches and set it each of my 3 matches. And each case that was at least involved in determining the outcome of the match. Let's see. On the offensive side, I tried a few things. On one of them, I did a similar cooldown pull, then Reva to be able to take out Cat, and then I used Ray Ben Hoda to take out the remaining 2. And honestly, that didn't even feel great. I mean, I understand Ray is one of the better bets against it, but even just against JMK and Ezra, I was like 4.5 minutes in before I was able to kill Ezra, and then pretty quickly thereafter got JMK before time ran out. But then, and another one of them, I want to try some other stuff against it. One thing that I was curious about was taking Saw with the Sawcron against it to see if Ezra Exile could just be burnt out, kind of right out of the gate. I heard tell of of folks having success. I think it was at lower relics, perhaps. And one of the challenges I think I ran into was, I was facing, of course, an R9, and the protection to health ratio is a little different at R9. And I was not able to burn through Ezra, and very quickly it was clear. It's like, all right, if you don't kill him right out of the gate, you're screwed. And so I was. Then at various other points to try and bust through there, I threw a Leia R2 Drogan. That was summarily rejected. I tried QA after doing like a nice, what I thought was the right cooldown pull on it. I tried QA. That was like 20 seconds of misery and failure. Then what else did I? Well, I threw everything else at it, and yeah, that didn't work. And then I ultimately still won that match because my opponent also got stuck on mine, and I won on banners. And then I had even the match that. One match where it took me a few rounds to get through that. Ultimately, got through it with Ray. That, as it turns out, like that cost me because prior, like I think one of the first attempts I made was with Leia, which I was so flustered and frustrated trying to get through that JMK on the front wall that I used up all of my LV counters on that. So I ultimately got through it with Ray, but then I had no answer for LV and got stuck on that. So it bled me enough to cost me otherwise. So those were my experiences, and like I said, it was it really stood well for me on defense as well. But it was brutal.
Yeah, it's that a siege. I want to
Yeah.
say in the end, I was able to take it apart with something like JML in round 3 there. I used JML to smite out Cat, and then I want to say in the next attempt, it's funny you mentioned it, saw Luthen Krex was eventually able to overwhelm it. And I mean kill the 2 of them. I shit you not. Now, granted, when we
Wow.
come back, we won't have the set 21 cron, so, but it was fun while it lasted. So, Dagger, I know you got something to say about fighting this. Or T,
Yeah,
whoever
I
else.
didn't.
Sure.
I didn't fight it myself personally, but I did have a friend fight it, and I watched them. And I know Tess has another patron who did this too.
Mhm.
But it was about a 4.5 minute fight with Ray, where
Alright.
you just use you have to just chip down Ezra using Ben so that you can whirlwind him off, and then it's just a normal wrap up. And what I say sounds easy, but I mean it still took like 2 minutes to kill Ezra, and then it was 2.5 minutes to kill the other 2.
Now, is that kind of
So
all in where you're doing the armor shreds on him and everything? Everything's all in on him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're treating him like you would Lord Vader in that fight.
hmm And that's still Ray Swallow Cal.
Yeah, and then you just lifeblood on Cal repeatedly so he doesn't die.
Mm-hmm.
You just lifeblood to Cal, whirlwind, heal Ray, lifeblood to Cal, whirlwind. Right, like it's the same pattern as Lord Vader. It just takes you with like the 2 whirlwinds, sometimes 3 whirlwinds, and an
Mm-hmm.
ult to actually kill Ezra.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it was against the Hodocron.
And my patron who had success with this was Stryker, and he tried it twice this week. Once he failed, and I watched him do that, and his cron was mostly defense on a set 22 light side bulk level 3. And at the end of the fight, I was thinking, it was just looking at it, it's like, man, there were a couple points where enemies were red and then were able to stabilize. Like, I think a chunk of offense on there, maybe something like 20 to 30%, nothing incredibly huge, would make enough of a difference that would have won.
Also remodding Ben back to the offense triangle is something I'm probably going to do for 3v3
Yeah.
because he doesn't crit. In that fight, he doesn't crit at least.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So
it's
putting
funny
him
you
in.
mention that because Stryker's cron that he used for the successful subsequent attempt was a cron that had a chunk of offense on it, like what I described, and then a large amount of crit damage. And like you, I asked, did you feel that the crit damage made a lot of difference? And what he said is the Ezra died. I mean, it felt like it worked. So I can't say, but yeah,
No, that's
please
fair. That's
continue.
fair. I'm mostly pointing out that while they have prot up, you cannot crit them, and Ben ignores prot, so he's not critting them.
Fair. Mm-hmm.
So that's what. And while crit damage on the crown is fun, I'm saying like going over to the offense arrow or offense triangle, like I was mentioning earlier, I think will give you another boost to just being able to get that extra damage in. Maybe even moving Ray. Like I want to move Ray over like 260, 270k health for these. If I'm using her on offense, I don't care about her damage. Right, her whirlwind's going to do whatever it's going to do. I think I'm going to jack up her health.
So you're going to go full health sets then?
I think I think so.
Because I
Either
mean,
that or
I'm somewhere.
either that or I just want to fish for more health because I think I'm at like 245. So if I can find like 5 to 10k more health, because I found that my R9 Cal was taking a lot of damage.
I think
Especially if Ezra hard targets him.
I think it'll be pretty hard for you to find a lot more health over 245 while still only just having like a 2 piece of health. 4 health primaries granted, but still, I think that's a tall assignment. So best of luck to you on that here.
Well, I was looking at my Ray like recently, and I have a lot of growth in my mods because I'm at 243 and change, and I have my 2 non-health primaries average out to be like 3.5% health, 4% health. So I have a lot of room to grow there. Plus, like my health primaries, I just checked. None of them have flat health. Sorry, that's not true. One of them has flat health. So the point, I guess, what I'm trying to say is, I think that there is room to grow if I want to give up some offense, and I'm at 243, so I think I can hit 250 relatively easily, even in an offense set.
Okay, all right, we'll see how that goes for you. All right, Fatal TJ, how about your experiences with JMK, Cat, Ezra, presumably with the Hodocron?
I'll let Fatal go first. Normally, he's the one who has to wait till last. So
No, I don't know, man. I fought this squad like somewhere between 1 and 3 seasons ago, and ended up one-shotting it with Inquisitors. So I get like, for me, I guess the biggest question is like, how much of a difference does Hermit Udokron make? But
all the
crucially,
difference, Fatal. Let me help you out with that. Your question immediately, and I'll talk to it, makes all of the difference.
Crucially, I didn't cooldown pull though, which I think, like, if Riva's just eating that nuke off the bat, I also think it changes the nature of the fight that you don't have to worry about like who goes what goes where. Actually, I pulled up. Okay, I found it. So the season that I did it, it was Cat had Ufu bonus turn on kill, and the Cat level 9 where there was just like a 25% chance that she could just spike you for like true damage and light side bulk, and then I had the Inquisitor bonus turn on kill and GI9. So like it was different to be sure, but I don't know, like GI's not exactly racking up easy kills there that like I don't know how much of that would transfer, but
So you're saying that you didn't encounter it, but if you had, you would have probably attempted this again?
I'd like to think so. I mean, at least see what's different.
Yeah, I'll say that from the recurring protection up level 3 being just a general pain in the ass, that that stacking offense sneaks up on you. You don't feel it until a full health, full protection side goes away of yours.
There might be something to be said for, I'm looking at the data right now. It looks like there was a one shot where you bench Seven Sister for 8 Brothers, and I'm assuming it just goes for a hilt grind on Deathmark to just take someone off the table immediately. I mean, no, this is also our past season. Fuck. Yeah, I don't know. It looks like Inquisitor one shot is like at a 33% rate in 3 tries. So,
I mean, at the very least. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say maybe there's room to elbow grease.
I would look forward to hearing it, and I have 3 thoughts. I've been waiting to let it go. So I tried yours Inquisitors for the single shot. This is what I planned on because I watched tasks. This is how I opened. I think also, and one thing I'll be taking away from this is what my opponent said on me, because I lost by 13 points. And so I lost enough to where it was my drop on Ahsoka and or I had the 4-shot. But the two pieces that I felt like I did the Inquisitors, like I'm gonna try this out. They're moving so quick, and the other piece I'll add is the super fast Ezra feels really strong in this setup. He puts so much disruption along with what's going on. Yeah, bring the death mark. That's whatever. Your cat's gonna go away, but you still have to deal with the full force of the Ezra. And the guy I faced was 379 speeds. I remember calling it out at the task. They just decimate. They just literally go through the team too quick with this setup. And it may be because there's not a lot of oomph behind your team. So I know you were asking about it, Phil. That's how I started, right? Absolutely feel like you need the 7th to be able to try to put some more control to the fight. I don't know what the 8th is going to do with that. Either way, I was able to one-shot the cat. Even trying to go after the Ezra felt pointless. There was just nothing going on that was going to hurt it. So I did that on purpose, got down to a pretty smooth two-man team, but that speed on Ezra, because my next one was going to be the Queen. One, I didn't have the cooldown right where I wanted it, so I had to actually go all the way to a 4-shot and then got it with the Leia. Just because that Ezra was going so fast, I couldn't track down where it was going to be at. So that's one of the pieces I'm taking away is obviously I think this is going to be a week 1 team when we get back into 3s. I think that Ezra being really, really fast with some bulk on it and that Hodocron are really going to mess with shit.
I don't know that it's not going to have like a meaningful impact in 5s because everything you're describing,
Yes.
TJ, from the experience in terms of its survivability, yes, totally impressive. I agree. It was. I think I mentioned one of the times I brought my Leia squad in, and I have never seen my Leia squad melt so fast. It's
Uh,
I did
immediately
that
out of the
too.
gate.
Oh yeah, that
Yeah,
was terrible.
JMK and Ezra have 140% bonus offense
I'm
the
going to
first
tell
time they take
you,
a turn.
you should
It's
hush
insane.
yourself. Don't put the curse out there, Sasha. Yes, it's coming 100%. I
Yeah.
faced it in arena, and holy hell, the SOK is pretty much going to be your best friend. And even then, the combo setup of what it's faced and what I faced on it, dude, it's going. This will be another meta go to in my opinion.
I
So
was
you're
able to
right.
beat it.
I just didn't
I was
want to
able to
say
beat
it.
it. I was able to beat that in arena with Jabba pretty easily, like 3 minutes, really easily.
In past data,
Well, in
Inquisitor
5
win
minutes.
rate against JMK Ezra is pretty high in 5s.
Yeah.
I mean, so basically, this is less a question of Ezra and JMK than Ezra and JMK with Herman Yedokron. Like,
Yes,
It's the Kron. You're right.
it is the Kron.
Yeah.
I would not have been nearly as nervous about it, and in fact, I absolutely would have brought just Inquisitors without considering a cooldown pool if it hadn't have been for that Kron.
Yeah.
And it's that combination of survivability and huge damage. Let me take a look at Ezra. I can't remember. It's at least 140% offense by the time the first Jedi makes an attack, and it might be 160. It's crazy.
It also varies on who gets. I think in 5s, Leia will vary depending on who gets exiled.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like
But I
you'll
think in
have more latitude. I don't know how many more options there will be in 5, but it feels like just the nature of 5v5 would have a couple more options ending up being at your disposal than 3s.
well, Ray with JK. I think if you do Ray with JKR, that used to be an old counter to JMK. I think Ray with JKR probably still beats this team.
Okay. I wanted to point out that, one of the reasons why people were feeling comfortable to set this is that folks were willing to risk doing the 2-shot on Bane, or some
Yeah.
folks even went for the 1-shot. Now, a lot of what made that work here this season, like my last opponent, Neo, he was 1-shotting Bane with Bane all season against Slacker Dre. Didn't matter if it was Faust or Crew. I did see, by the way, that looking at week 2 data, the win rate for Bane versus Slacker Dre is much worse against Crew than it is Faust. And I wonder if any of you have any insight as to why that might be. I will say, in my second round against Aesop of this week, I did set Slacker with Crew for the first time all season. It had otherwise been Faust. And I did get a hold. Additionally, in that third round against Neo, I also got a hold. He had been one-shotting every other Slacker the entire season. So this is the first time somebody dropped. Anyways, what was making it work at all, though, for him in particular, was a set 21 Kron that had a pretty decent split, but high rolls nonetheless for both armor penetration and crit damage. Right? So set 21 will not be with us when we come back to 3. So the question is, are you still going to be setting JMK Cat? And what does that mean? Does that mean that you're holding Slacker to counter it? Does that mean that you're lifting up Lord Vader clones and thinking to take Lord Vader clones against that? It's just
Applecron is gone. So to your point,
sure, you'll have the big set 22 Kron though.
My go-to next season is just going to be Ray.
I honestly,
I think that's a good answer.
hate,
I think that's a good answer.
I hate Dagger is right, but honestly,
And
I'll tell you,
good on offense.
and I still disagree with it, but it's
I
like that's what my
I
guy
just want to finish
did.
my thought really quick. I just want to finish my thought really quick, and especially if the new set has any amount of armor or a resistance pen on it or something like that, I think you're going to get a lot more value out of that. I don't actually know what Ben's resistance pen is. I imagine it's like not great, but I imagine it exists. Really,
All
A
right.
lot of what Ben does is true damage as well. So like
that's also fair.
it's just like the second hit of the AoE, which like you already talked about the critting. If you do get opportunities to crit, that second hit of the AoE is actually fantastic if you can get it to crit sometimes. But I don't know, man. We don't have to go back into this, but there's been a lot of discussions in my Discord about penetration math lately, and it's not good. It is so depressing. I mean, not always bad. It's not always bad, but like the moment that armor values start going high, it's like.
The base value of armor pen is just
better,
not where it needs to be. Is that the gist, or resistance pen?
So I just want to call out where they're doing it. What my guy did. My guy failed one time. He did it on purpose. He pulled the cooldown off the SLKR, and that makes sense to kind of solidify the bang. I know that's what he did. It was the fight went away, and then he got a perfect 35. So that just tells you what he set it up for. So honestly, keeping the SLKR, no. Setting the SLKR, and if that's where we're going to pull the cooldown, that's fine. But agree with Dagger. And again, the keeping the Ray and setting this Super JMK, at least with the Hodocron, feels like the right call.
I mean, frankly, for how this season has been shaped for me, like the thing that I kind of see popping its head up is like, so for me, like in week 3, I fucked. Well, I didn't. I fucked up, but I didn't like fuck up. I loaded my week 1 mods just because I didn't look close enough when I loaded it. So my Ray was not on good shit. It was just like, okay, my Dark Ray this week is kind of a free win, but I was still screwing people up badly because this just seems like a good season to be very top heavy. Like, not quite a super team season, but we're kind of inching in that direction. That like, I think if you just go wide enough on like Seer Starkiller Malicos, Leia, SLK, LV clones, and like Leia as like a bottom front wall, those 5 teams alone could possibly just like put some people in the dirt if they're not ready.
Fair.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's really one of the new items from this week. Just looking anything else over. My last note as far as a new lesson for this week is in the great siege of Neo's back wall after getting through that JMK Cat Ezra up front. I had to whittle through his Ahsoka, Watt, and Zaris. Got it down to Ahsoka, and then really I'm grasping at straws, guys. It was thin, it was late. I did not have much left, and the grand champion to carry my banner was DTMG Gideon Scout. And it was a 4+ minute fight with a set 22 stacking offense, some crit damage, some defense. The stats were middling, but I wanted to have the stacking offense level 3. Basically on auto. And 4+ minutes later, damn if she didn't die. So I don't expect that I'm going to be needing to rely on that too often. But if I ever had to, I want to say that makes sense regardless of the Datacron meta. So just
I will just say that in 3v3, I used to be very terrified of leaving lone GLs. And at least as it stands right now, and I'm not sure how Datacron dependent it is, I'm not terrified of any lone GL, save maybe Ray.
Hmm.
But yeah, every lone GL just dies so easily nowadays. Between like things like Trench that you have on your bench, like Tass said with DTMG, like you just have these teams that you don't use that are actually like reasonably good at cleaning up GLs.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's a good call out though, Tass. Like I didn't really use DTMG all season.
Okay. Yeah. I
JT,
want to say, I also
Oh,
had
sorry, what's the fatal?
if you're on Lone Ray, the old Blade Baka Theorycraft, JTR BB8 Veteran Han.
really.
Oh, I
You
forgot about that shit.
That's
Yeah.
old school.
Wow.
Yeah,
very real
forgot
school.
that existed. Forgot that existed.
Wow.
Also, if your Mandos are free, you can blast through a solo Ahsoka in like 30 seconds, basically.
Yeah.
Not using them elsewhere. It's comfy.
You certainly, I mean, if you have, I know we talked about this last week, but if you have that JKR Bastila remaining, you can take advantage of the absence of a Galactic Legend exclusion from JKR's kit,
Mhm.
and you could just whittle down that Ahsoka to nothing. You're going to need riposte from Jedi Knight Cal there, but
Mhm.
you can get there.
Yeah.
One other.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I was just saying that I'm really happy that GLs are clean upable now because I remember that was one of the biggest frustrations with 3v3 for quite some time was just
Right.
if you couldn't kill the GL, you could just get stuck behind a GL.
It's true.
It was a major separation point between people who were comfortable with 3v3 and people who weren't. Like knowing the tricks of ways to like defuse a bomb.
Yeah, now you can just brute force the GL, so it's less important.
Mhm. A couple other, quick and useful counters. Afra BT1 000 with the Afrocron. So again, we won't have this next time, but worth noting that GG Stappen Magna was 52 banners. A bit of bleed. But damn, that was I didn't think I was going to clear that. And then BKM Paz Grogu. I had a couple matches where this was thrown on defense. I dealt with it a couple different ways. Boss Grief Mando with very high defense got it done in one round. And then the next round, Enoch, Night Trooper, and DTP. So the Boss Grief Mando was 57 in the end. Enoch, Knight, DTP, while being, pretty cheap to do, was going to be a 52 banner clear. Still, being that a few people had BKM perform well for them on defense this week, pretty budget counter that I really wouldn't have run into unless I was taxed the way that I was. That was it.
Also, to build off of your Afra thing really quick,
Mhm.
it was pointed out very early in the season by a couple of people and the data that Afra 000 BT1 was like actively pretty chill to just kick the shit out of with any number of teams,
Mm.
and that if you wanted it to hold, the best comp was 000 Chrysanthemum.
Yeah.
And I had lots of success with that.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a whole lot of holds, but looking at what people used to beat it, I was pretty okay with what people were using to beat it.
Would you happen to know then if the GG thing is choked out by Chrysanthemum? Because that's something I wondered on the stream.
I don't think there's enough data for it, but I can
Hmm.
check on Insight really quick.
It's no big deal. And while you're doing that, I mean, did anybody else have any novel lessons here in this week or, discoveries? Anything else like kind of what I was going off of?
Yes. She works great at killing Ahsoka. Those high defensive setups, that's what I did against Mike or
Wait,
Michael.
I'm sorry. What did you use against Alone Ahsoka?
No, full Ahsoka.
Oh, full Ahsoka. What did you use?
No, Afra. If you could play the fight correctly and work through it, Afra with BT1 and 000, I dropped off. It was 375% defense. So it was Michael, right? So his stuff was really good. And it was the high 300s. It was a setup with the Bears and everything. Yeah. You have to play the fight. You don't get just to go in and assume it, but it felt better than when I did the mothers. You're playing with the fight, but eventually you just pull it back, and because they can't hit your it felt great. It was low banners, but it was cool being able to see that Afro would be able to take it out if you wanted to hold it.
Dig it.
Yeah, to answer your question, Tass, 0 for 1.
Okay, so not a lot of people tried, but when they tried, they died. So appreciate you looking into that.
And on TJ's point, like I found myself just not knowing what to do with my. I kept putting Ezra with Ahsoka because as the season wore on, I'm just like, I want to try my Ezra someplace else, but God, Ahsoka fucking sucks without Ezra. Sorry, I shouldn't cuss, but like,
Oh, you're cool.
Ahsoka just doesn't feel like a GL without Ezra. Like dying to Great Mothers and JKR lead is just devastating. Like from a defensive setting perspective, I mean, like.
I hear you, Dagger. That's kind of how I was feeling. I was as happy as I was to stumble upon something that worked to counter. It felt frustrating. I couldn't have a viable defensive comp. And what I tried, and this is where a little disappointed, our histories aren't out yet, and I should check with Aesop because what I ended up setting, I like. The Ahsoka Watt thing is kind of it's a neat little combo, and it's like, hey, you've got a GL who's a tank who's getting to use her own leadership and has a permatant. And the third that I added that I thought would be fun was I added General Grievous with a Grievous Cron. And
Oh.
I like that concept because Ahsoka, maybe she doesn't do a lot, but she does very little very often. And each time she does her very little, whatever she does, Gigi is going to be assisting. He's got riposte.
Yeah.
And you've got high durability, even potentially revive if Watt's there, and Grievous is stacking his health and his damage. I'm like, oh, that should be really, really fun. And I know it died to a 57, so I don't know what it did yet. But that was my attempt to get creative and make it viable.
Nice.
Yeah, I just found myself very sad about what Ahsoka was capable of without Ezra.
Yeah.
And I'm sure she beat something on offense, but I don't need another team that beats something on offense.
Yeah, doing that JKR Jedi Cal Bastila against, bumpy Ahsoka compositions, whether that was Wat Dooku, Wat Zaris, Wat whatever, not Wat and whatever, as long as it wasn't Exile Ezra, there was a way through that felt pretty cost effective. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the thing that I was kind of disappointed this season, which is why I continued to leave my Ezra with my Ahsoka. Not because I didn't want to try him other places, but because I was holding Rey for offense. For similar reasons. I just felt like without Ezra, she just wasn't a real threat with Malicos and old EPMJ SK running around out there. She even has more predators now.
Yeah. You do have an incentive though. When you think about it next season, I feel like having Ezra with JMK is still going to be kind of painful. We'll have to see what people rotate to offense if Bane doesn't end up being reliable. We don't know what the new replacement Datacron set will bring. So if there is armor penetration,
almost assuredly pirates.
Sure, I'm obvious. I mean, for the purposes of Bane, like what's going to benefit him. Because if that matchup is still available for being reliable for Slacker, then we'll certainly have a reprisal of this week 3 here at the beginning of the next 3 versus 3 season. But otherwise, going to be different. All right. I'm sorry. We caught that new note from TJ. Did anybody else have anything new or novel from this week? All right. So circling back to Dagger's vision here, you wanted to kind of, wrap up the season. Why don't you kick us off and the rest of us will take it from there?
Yeah, so the initial thought process here was I felt really good about this season. I know going in I was a little pessimistic. I really enjoyed my matches. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the flexibility of being able to set a real defense. I don't know how much defense on Kron's actually added to that. Finding out about the Bounty Hunters versus BKM, though, if that shit's reliable, like, that sucks. I liked setting BKM this season. But it was mostly just, what stood out to you this... I was mostly curious, what stood out to everybody here this season, both from an offense standpoint, what surprised you? How do we feel about Mace on offense or defense? Right, like, let's kind of review, like, some of the stuff that... Because the meta did shift as the season went, and we did touch on the JMK Ezra thing. But I personally loved having Rey on offense, and as somebody who's previously never really used Rey, learning her mechanics, she's a really boring team to use because, like I said, it's just lifeblood Cal, heal Rey, lifeblood Cal, right? It's really boring, but sometimes meat and potatoes gets jobs done, and having that as a super reliable Lord Vader counter, so that I could just point my Leia at whatever Ezra was on, was really nice. that's going to change going forward, of course. But I was curious what your guys' thoughts were on the evolution of the meta, how much you enjoyed this 3v3. What are some of the lessons you learned from setting your defense, planning your attacks?
Yeah,
know.
if I could jump in real quick with mine, because I'm going to be on mute for a bit while I got to go. Well, I'm driving here, and I don't want to bug you guys on that. So, I like a couple of things I'll share just kind of quickly. One, like a higher level. I know it doesn't apply to everybody, but I was just really happy to have have that reduced amount of erodiums in the group. We only had one erodium, so I had 3 legit battles, and I really enjoyed that. And I enjoyed that not just because hey, I want to be able to play the game. I mean, but I felt like that allowed me to get to a little bit greater sort of depth in my thinking and strategy and just sort of the learning from experience. So it's not just, hey, I got to play more of it, but in playing more, there was a little more evolution in how I thought about my defense, how I thought about counters, and how to engage. So that was just like less erodiums, more fun. The other thing that I'll add that I think was really almost liberating was the amount of challenges so many of us were having against that JMK Cat Ezra with the Hodocron almost was liberating. Like the matches that I was aware of in our group, like the majority of them did not include full clears. And once something doesn't include a full clear, like just the further we get from that efficiency meta, the more I was able to lean on just the fun side. And I would think to myself, like, okay, well, look, there's a decent shot that maybe one of us doesn't get 3 stuff. So I don't really care that this counter is likely a 53 instead of a clean 57. I don't think it's probably going to come down to that. And I want to try this counter. And that was liberating for me. And I had a ton of fun with it. Then the other aspect, I know I'm touching on a bunch, and then I'll hand it back over to you guys. But
No, go on, man. No, go
I'd
on.
hinted at this when I in our closing comments in last week's show. And it really it was very much my experience this week, and that was like the added dimension of datacrons as like such a core component. And it was, yes, it's the Hodocron, but it was also like what support cron could do. And like I'm excited to see honestly the versatility. I'm glad we only have one, but I'm excited to see the versatility and options and applications of that in 5s, because it doesn't have to just be QA, but it was so kick-ass with QA and 3s that it was a lot of fun. All that, and then kind of added in with the defense as a stat. I thought made for a lot of fun for my week. So those were kind of like those. That's the summation of my experiences and why I kind of came out of it. Like I tend to lean towards the positive anyway on this stuff, but I was really pretty pleased and, like I said, liberated in a way to like be able to take goofy risks, have some fun, and then know, hey, my match will probably be lost on one or lost on something else other than like scraping a banner here or there to make sure I do like the most beaten path. So that was cool for me.
Nice. I mean, for my part, what I liked about this season is feeling really rewarded for the extrema that I have in my modding. Just some of my characters are topped out a certain way, and I was getting defensive holds that other people were not. I was having offensive success that other people were not. Of course, RNG is part of the picture always, but it felt pretty consistent. This was a really good season. I had a lot of fun, and I rotated things all the time. It was a very, very high labor season in terms of scouting and thinking about rotating elements of a composition, then the position of the composition on the board. I was moving stuff around a lot for most matches, and I felt rewarded for most of that. So also there was at least 2 or 3, like a decent handful of the season's matches where being really careful and thinking it through and mapping it out, the type of thing that I like to do that usually is just a time sink, it produced flawless attack runs and stuff like that. In the same type of situation where I was getting a bunch of holds in the same run. Just like the best scenarios came out of this season. I had a lot of fun with that. Somebody else, feel free to take the mic. I'm good.
Well, I'll also just say that Sasha touched on it, but QA was also just another breakout. She kind of was starting to break out last season, just as far as like just being able to kill or handle a couple of GLs. But seeing her kind of take the spot of Leia, where point me at target Ezra, whether she's on Ahsoka or Rey, was really nice to see. And I don't know how much, like, obviously it's being partially carried by the support cron, but
Hugely
man,
carried.
well, I'm just saying, like, she was beating Rey without the support cron as well previously. But
yeah, but that
definitely
Rey Solo Ezra or the Ahsoka Ezra whatever that either way is getting stomped by the current incarnation of Queen Amidala with that Krennicron. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no. Look. I'm admitting that it's carrying it. I'm just
Yeah.
curious to what the replicability of that is going forward. I know it's probably still going to beat most versions of Rey because I remember I was using it versus some Rey. Anyway, that's not really what I wanted to like touch on here, but it's mostly just how I feel like she was basically just an offense team this season. I think it was really cool for a lot of the community to actually see what she could do. I saw a lot of cool uses. I saw her get used against Jabba. That was kind of interesting. Just kind of across the board, finding out how flexible and how good she actually was as a team.
To be frank with you, I think it also kind of just speaks to how fucked over she is on defense right now. That like she is, I don't want to say she's genuinely unpostable, but it like, look, man, I value trade plenty of teams. I post plenty of teams that I'm willing to just like, yeah, okay, that'll trade badly. She is a motherfucking buffet right now of like, all of this is bad. I don't want her to get sawed. I don't want her to get like great mothers or any of that. Like this is just
Okay, yeah, Great
getting
Mothers.
ridiculous. I'm getting out of here.
Yeah, I expect Great Mothers will work next season. I was going to ask, like, what are you worried about eating up Queen? I still think in the end she's a better value to keep for offense. So I think we're mostly aligned on that for the room. But yeah, Saw isn't a thing in the same way next season, right? So
yeah,
correct.
So Night Sisters. Who else are you thinking are just easy predators for Queen?
I would have to go back and look at my history. Yeah, a lot of people do Traya.
Yeah, Traya does work well for a lot of people. It's been hit or miss for me, but I accept that. Fair.
Well, to that point as well, I'm looking at the data for Great Mothers, and it's actually spotty that, like, I don't know, maybe Great Mothers had a lot of consistency against Maya Amidala, that maybe the data is just reflecting that people having not great spirits or whatever such characters.
And
that,
also,
like,
are you thinking historically, or also you thinking against Krennicron? Because my guess is most folks, if they were going to hazard Queen on defense next season, it's going to be with Krennicron. Just commit to it, yeah?
I don't know if I agree. I don't know,
please,
man.
Please expand.
No, it's just that if you're going Krennicron, you're so vulnerable. Like, if you're using Krennicron on offense, you already know the matchup that you're taking it into, that you're not sweating the lack of defensive tools. But the moment you post it on defense, like, yes, the power is explosive, but, like, I don't know. Like, so the biggest thing I think back to with set 16 is that the real sleeper part of it is more the buff immunity than anything. Actually, if anything, we might just have data right now. Like, let me just look up Krennicron and Great Mothers, because, like, it's possible that the buff immunity would make Great Mothers way less comfortable than you would think. Yeah, the Great Mother's win rate is down to like 70% for 23 matches, whatever that's worth. Like, small sample size, but not nothing. Saw win rate is still high, so going into next season with Saw off the table, maybe
Saw should still beat her even without the Kron. I'm being honest. I was beating her pre-Kron.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Good to know.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, he was still the go-to.
All right.
It's just now it's just Lawler skates easy. Like, it used to be like you'd kind of have to press some buttons to make it work, and now it's just click button, oh, they're gone.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, though,
sorry, go ahead.
No, I would imagine that the Amidala side has agency with their modding and how they build their characters to contest you. The thing, fuck man, Great Mothers. I don't have any beef with them. But how many fucking matchups are we going to get into where this team reminds you, hey, by the way, your protection's off. Hey, by the way, your defense does nothing. Hey, by the way, your health is going to tick down to 0. It's like, cool. I guess I just won't theorycraft for this team anymore. Enjoy the free win. Like, god damn, it's getting ridiculous.
I will say, you know, in the last few months, we've mostly enjoyed Great Mothers on defense. She's an amazing team, 3s or 5s. This season, I felt punished anytime I set it on defense. In particular, any number of matchups you could use, like against lesser Ahsoka teams. I know that's kind of hit or miss this season. Some people have timed out, some people have gotten it done. But I'm thinking about, at the very least, like Keller and Jocasta Temple Guard with the Temple Guard Cron. This is something I learned for myself. When you have Doom, obviously you're disabling the protection on Jocasta, so when she transforms to rifle and does damage based on her max protection, she does hit you like a wet noodle. Yes, you have to survive that one turn where some character's at 65 health. Okay, fine. That's all true. However, as she's taking turns and is doomed, she's going to go to 1 health, and when you go to hit her, you take her from 1 to 0. And the game doesn't know how to recognize that in terms of making her chuck the rifle at you and explode. She just falls over and dies. So it might feel like a pretty powerful team to throw at something like Keller and Jocasta Temple Guard. Maybe there's something else that I'm not really thinking about right now, but there's at least one way to just trivialize that whole thing. Whereas if you're thinking about that team, say, oh man, going in with Reva, something like that. Anytime I went in with Reva, dicey, man. At least twice this season, that rifle throw has gotten off and killed everybody but Reva, who comes back and is either able to finish the fight or not. But bumpy is the word.
Yeah, I think it was TJ I said this too, but it's I am both happy and annoyed with how kind of to touch what Fatal said, with how well the mechanics on Great Mothers are going to age. It's going to remind us a lot of the old Night Sisters and how well their mechanics aged with, oh, you wanted to kill me? That's a goddamn shame. I wanted you to do that. Where this is like Fatal said, oh, what if you just didn't have protection? And what if you just didn't have defense? And, you know, I think the mechanics of this team are going to be really cool going forward when this actually becomes like a B team and you can actually like, I don't know. I think people are underestimating how good this team is right now because, like you said, the 2 times I put it on defense, I didn't really miss it in the sense I didn't feel punished, but I definitely felt like I could have made better use of it after my opponents just used Malgus or whatever. So I'm like, oh, cool. That was a team that they may or may not have used regardless. So cool, I guess.
The problem for Great Mothers on defense came in with Zalbar Omicron, right? That like all of a sudden it's like Darth Revan Zalbar just became this heat-seeking missile that I'm not saying that the meta is not healthy right now. Like this is a very enjoyable season, but I feel like it would be a little bit healthier if Great Mothers on defense was a little bit more tempting, because right now it's very much like Amidala, where it's just like I can post it on defense and it's the worst idea that I've ever had, or I can bring it on offense and kill some GLs. Which way do we think we want to go with this?
Yeah,
true. It's true. Yeah, it's funny you should say that, because when I'm thinking about it, want to say I saw History doing the round 3 of this week against Neo. He had Keller and Jocasta Temple Guard Crom. I had Great Mothers on defense, hence the aforementioned comment about feeling punished. And I had DRZ on me. I had the DR Mission Zalbar. And I had the Zalbar Omicron, so whatever, the best setup I could possibly have. And I saw a couple people got a 57 on Keller and Jocasta Mace. Let me tell you, dear co-host, that Jocasta managed to get the rifle off, and we survived the fight with a 50. And I'm not saying that's what sunk me. What I am saying is it's a long way from the 57 that was advertised. So, yeah, to everything you guys are saying, yes. Great Mothers, I could much more readily part with having DRZ on defense, knowing that you can trivialize it, than feeling without having Great Mothers for offense. So that will definitely be holding over until next season. All right. Yeah, I think we've had a couple of us chime in on our thoughts on the season overall. Did we already get your full comments, Fatal? I know you kind of weighed in here.
Not really. No, I don't know. I'm kind of where Dagger was. I don't know. I kind of just found a rhythm where like pretty much, literally every match would have played the exact same for me if I didn't just keep like swerving off the road to chase more fun stuff. Like literally every match for me would have been okay. My opponent bled 150 banners or didn't clear. I'm gonna cooldown pull Bane the SLK. I'm gonna JMK the LV clone. I'm going to Queen Amidala the Ray, and I'm gonna clean up all the other C teams because nobody posts anything else for the most part. And that would have just like walked me into like a 8-1 season. That's not necessarily me complaining because like obviously it's fucking fantastic to
Ooh,
get
data
defensive
is
holds.
out. We do have data.
It's nice to be able to get all the defensive holds, but I'm just like I did get a little bit tired of like, okay, everyone's just posting the exact same LV, SLK, Ray, and Prey. It's like, could you scout me so that you can see that I broadly have the answer so that you could try something else so that we could try something else? Are we just gonna Prisoner's Dilemma this shit? We're just like, I don't know.
Honestly, the redundancy of the season is paired with like real life stuff is what made me just like, you know what, this last round is okay. I did 8 rounds of the same damn thing, and here we are.
Fair.
But yeah, just to kind of echo what Fatal said, yeah, this season was way better than I thought it was going to be, and it was a lot of fun. But it did get a little redundant because again, the meta got solved pretty quick. But the one cool thing about the redundancy though was that you still had, like Sasha said before he went driving, was I felt like I had modularity on my side, right? I didn't feel like I mean, yes, I had like 2 fights I had to do, and then after those fights were done, it's like, all right, well, I can just mix and match now because like, oh, I haven't tried this fight. Let me try this team versus this team. It should work. So it wasn't like too prescriptive in that sense. A lot of teams all around the same level.
So the thing that I'm thinking about right now that actually kind of concerns me is like the season overall was fun, but I think if you do the actual like diagnosis of the meta, it feels very propped up at the moment where like so historically if you're like a heavy defensive player, the GLs are never really the focus. And I mean we're in a position where like GLs are becoming the focus again, and they're actually like performing very well, and the majority of the defensive results are in the GL area. But that makes me worried that like, okay, Hermione goes, Dark Ray goes. LV clones we'll see, but like they have the clone Kron to go to, but let's say that goes. And then we're ending up in a scenario where the normally good B teams all feel unpostable. That could leave us in a very fucking bummer spot, depending on future Crown seasons, of course. But like,
I was going to say to your specific point just there, and I'll be happy to let you continue. We will not have Sidious next time. We'll not have Dabod Fennec next time. So
I'm really happy about that. I mean, like they were fun, but bye.
yeah, we won't have Saul as well, but it's still just like, I don't know, man. Everything that we talked about, like Great Mother's hunting Amidala, Omicron hunting Great Mothers. It's like I was in a spot this season because like I was trying to experiment with like, okay, let me just post as heavy as possible. Like try to not necessarily as heavy as possible, but just like let me make the best defense I can make. And I was trying to count to 15 good teams, and that number I could not reach 15. There were not 15 solid teams that did not have clear, obvious answers that like anybody could figure out as like, okay, yeah, I'm just gonna X that or Y that. And so that's where it's like, man, cool season, but I'm actually getting a little bit worried about the future at 33. It's like, yeah, We'll see.
Non sequitur, and obviously anecdotal. I placed SOK on defense all 9 rounds. It was one shot once, and it was the time I set crew. JMK was turned away every time they tried against my Faust.
Nice.
I'm not saying that my data or what happened for me is indicative of a whole, but the confirmation bias here is fucking real.
Fair. TJ, I think you're the only one we haven't gotten your summary on this season.
I mean, I went 8-1, so I'm gonna say it was great.
Crush.
I'm gonna, yeah, and it was like I said, it was strong. It was the efficiency side, which I'm not a fan of, but I had it figured out pretty early on. And the queen getting that figured out and how far it could extend out really felt like a good place. The other one, Tash, you were there. It didn't come out as successful as I wanted, but I don't remember which round it was. Somebody set lay on me in the back. I think it was round 2. And one thing I saw that had a potential to work was doing the JKL cron, but doing JKL lead. I started working through it, and then it eventually had to hold up. Obviously, now with JMK, Ezra, and Cat, there's probably not going to be a thing. But that one was another one. If I could have made it work, would have been a lot of fun. Overall, for the season, I enjoyed it, man. I thought it was going to be a one way or another. But I also think because we took to the time to do our homework, had it figured out pretty well, and it got into an okay rhythm. But I'll hold to what Fatal is saying. It could be night and day for what we see next time we come back around.
Fair.
Next time back around might be fine still because we have stuff like Kodakron. I'm just worried about what happens when we lose the set.
All right. Well, appreciate you sharing that, TJ. Before we go towards wrapping up, there is something I wanted to show. One of my patrons, Saldag, shared this. This is from Big Simp Connor, who also shared this to Arnold. I know this is making its way around the community right now, but here, let me kill the audio there. But he's showing this fight here. This is supposedly a very high success. Hold on, let me go back just one real quick. High success counter to Leviathan. Marauder, 5s, Anakin to start, Phantom 2, and Lando's Millennium Falcon as reinforcements under endurance lead. Have a look at that real quick.
And just so you know that you're not sharing it on our side within the chat test.
There you go. You see it now?
It could be me.
I don't think I turned on OBS earlier. You guys should
There
have
it
told me that.
is.
It would have been
Yay.
on like years ago. Anyway,
Yeah.
So they isolate the 5s because you're hiding Anakin early, so that makes sense. Really, what? One of the advantages to endurance, that early valor. Use it.
I say Arnold has a
Basic.
video out of
Basic
this.
there.
Of
Yeah,
him
I
doing
saw
it as
Arnold,
well.
but this is the source video that Arnold cites.
You're
The
right.
Big Sim Connor.
And he does. I have a problem with it when we're done though. So
Okay,
go ahead and go through it.
we're all looking at
Same
it here.
here.
All right. Nobody in GAC is posting the first setup as being SAS. That is not correct. And every time you watch these fights of doing it in arena, so do I think the counter is viable in going in ships and you're climbing your arena? Yeah, I think you're fine.
Mm-hmm.
If you're posting anything, you're posting either scimitar, and that's what you're doing. You're doing the scimitar setup, or you're doing Phantom into Mark 6.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. And so if you watch this every single time, we will never see a SAS. We'll never see that.
So you're saying that aside from this one video that I guess myself and others, including Arnold, have covered, is there any other footage showing this being successful against either of those cases you mentioned?
I've never seen one because everybody's doing it in ships. And so nobody set it up. Show me a GAC match now.
Yeah.
We don't know if it's going to be successful, but I have concerns when that's not what we see when it comes to GAC. That's
the other thing I would point out. The other thing I would point out is this is an R9 JKA and I got up against the full R7 set squad.
That's the other thing I was looking at, is that your numbers feel off and the stacks of where everything is at. And that also feels very wishy-washy.
I fully understand that, like, you know, you're born with the arena shard you're born with, and maybe they can't necessarily cover for that, but
Yeah.
It's the immediate thing that it does on watching the video, and I'm like, I just took it with a huge grain of salt. Is like, I don't know, maybe.
Well, I'm glad we're talking
that's what I
about
said.
it then, because folks are wanting to get our take on this counter.
I like it, but like I said, it's more of an arena climb thing than it is a DAC thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. I appreciate you guys. All right. This brings us back around to takeaways and final thoughts. Guys, you have survived this season of threes. Yeah, a lot of fun. We're going to have to readjust with the normal expected expiration of a Datacron set. I look forward to B teams rejoining defense as, you know, something we can kind of toy around with. Barring any other empowered predators like the Dadbod Fenneccron and the Sidious Cron. We'll have to see what the as yet announced Datacron set 23 will bring. But yeah,
well, really quick, while you say that, Pirates is a pretty good guess because we're getting a focused Datacron for one of the Pirates. What do we think is what else do we think is going to be there? I'm just curious, like just pure speculation. Since we're in this part of the show,
I've got nothing for that. I mean, they, you know, not Jedi, not Sith is what my guess is.
I'm gonna guess no pirate.
Really?
I think it's too soon. I think they'll just do the one-off FTC because we have like what, literally 5 pirates total, and they have no synergy with each other.
It's true.
I think it's too soon.
Are they not going to release pirate factioned Datacrons when we eventually do realize GL Hondo? I think that's a fair read.
Actually, so what it could be, so SM33 will release.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have Ithano. The Datacron will release with the 3v3 season, so you just need to have 3 pirates for it to be playable, and then maybe the last 2 hit and it rolls into 5v5. But even still, though, is it like, are we really going to see more than an FTC for a faction of 5 people? I don't know.
Yeah, well, here's what they may go with a little bit of a tweak that they've used a few other times with Oppo, and we see it a little with Queel and Ugnaught, and maybe it's, hey, like, all scoundrels with use of this FTC are considered pirates. And then suddenly it's like, hey, we take the morally ambiguous and let them slide right into piracy.
Sure.
Very, very true.
Yeah, that'd be a fun take.
Yeah, and I think that could be a thing. Anyways, I was just curious because like we haven't had droids in a while. Like I know I guess we had droids like 6 months ago. What haven't we had recently? Is I guess when I'm trying to like
Resistance, maybe.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Dude, that'd be really cool if we got like a Raycron, or maybe not a Raycron, but like it's actually. But wait, when was the last time we had Ufu Crons?
A little while ago. We had that yellow set some time ago.
Based on the set that I saw, it was No Mercy, which expired 4 months ago. So 8 months, I guess, since it released.
Okay, so yeah, I'm just trying to think of what we could get because I can't, like, the reason I'm asking you guys is because normally you're like, oh, this and this is happening in the game, they could do this, but yeah, like you said with the Pirates thing, it's like I feel like we've had almost every faction relatively recently, or the major factions relatively recently. Except for I guess maybe Empire. But I don't think they give us. I don't think they give us Empire on the heels of like.
They could try to do thematic and do like bounty hunter, do a scoundrel, because then you get to the light side, dark side of things. So they could make it this season.
Yeah.
I think you're right in tracking the point that doing it pirate feels a little off when we're getting it, but we're also getting SME, so they could try to feed into it from a kind of sleight of hand type situation. So sidebarring it, except for these level 9s, right? Because Ithano is what again? He is pirate and what? I'm sorry. Because I'm wondering if that's how they might try to
attacker, leader, pirate, and scoundrel.
So maybe it's scoundrel that way, and that's how they try to feed it back into before we go
Maybe.
directly to pirate.
Maybe, but this most recently expired set was Smuggler, right? So I guess it could be Scoundrel. Yeah,
Scoundrel makes sense to me, at least because they're going to light side, dark side it, and they
sure,
did
sure.
say that the new bespoke is going to have a Thano in it. So if you're looking at it from that way, because a Thano is a scoundrel is wide enough to hit either side of things.
Yeah, and I like the idea of something like Scoundrels. Like, don't get me wrong, Ufukrons in the past have been really borderline too good. But one of the reasons I like doing things like Ufus and Scoundrels is that your entire roster, like almost every team has something like that on it.
Mm.
Right? And that's the thing I really like about those far-reaching, like non-denominational, if you will, not Jedi, not Sith, right?
Mm.
There's Ufus on so many teams, there's Scoundrels on so many teams. That'd be really cool. Like this last set we had is like super narrow as far as the L6s go. And you're saying
Yes.
there's 5 pirates. How many Jedi Vanguard are there? 10?
Probably
And-
more.
And like 3 of them were good when they released the Crons?
Mm-hmm.
I guess I don't know. And sorry, that was just a quick aside. I was curious what people thought.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I don't usually have a lot in the way of speculation, but probably something we haven't seen in a year at least. So Scoundrel is as good a guess as any. But anyways, I already kind of threw in my 2 cents. I'm just expecting to have a little more latitude with lesser defensive teams that you really just couldn't afford to set during the lifetime of this dad bod and Sidious meta. So I'm just ready for the winds of change, for the next time. Dagger, how about you?
I am ready for this set to rotate for many reasons. One of them is I'm curious to see how they handle expiring FDCs.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see how we as a player base handle expiring FDCs based on oh boy, am I going to be way over cap. Right? Like, it's going to be bad. But yeah, I'm curious to see kind of how the dismantling works going into next season. Seeing how much of a jump start we get from that.
So crucially, we can't dismantle them, right? So if anything, you are further. It's no longer incentivization. It is a requirement that, hey, you need to go do some due diligence, dismantle some shit, spend that shit.
Yeah.
So that when the actual deadline hits and the FTC is dismantled, you're not up shit
That is a
creek.
really good practical tip.
Yeah.
If you're the type like so many of us who just that you're not worried about hitting the raised cap nowadays for your Datacron cash, and you've been cool with letting it dust on that last day. Don't do that now with FDCs, because that's
At least until we know what the expectations are.
it's going to be a few.
Honestly, that's
It's
a
going to
good
be a few
PSA.
tens of millions of credits at the absolute very least that you weren't planning on overcapping on. So I think that's a really good point.
Yeah.
It's a good PSA. I did not realize the FDCs couldn't be broken down manually. So that's good to know.
Yeah.
All right, appreciate
Yeah.
you, Dagger. Did you have? Sorry, did you have
I
anything
guess I'll
else?
just
Yeah.
be done then. No, I'll just be done then. That's cool. I'll be a good boy. I'm done.
I'll
go back to my-
I literally
I'll
just
go
asked
back-
if you had anything else. I mean,
No,
shit.
I'll just go back. I'll just go back to my day collar. It's good.
Okay, good. All right, fine. Whatever works for you. TJ, how about you? Your takeaways, your final thoughts.
Looking forward to week 3.1. And all I mean by that is it was cool. Like I said, my opponent did what I should have done. He took a good gamble, and I appreciate what he did. So looking forward to see what we look like when we open up come week 1 of next threes. And I'm just gonna close on the positive of it because I agree. Like overall for me, and I agree with the fatal of it could have been an 8-1, but he wanted to try some stuff as things took off. Obviously the season worked well for me, so I'm looking forward to starting where I'm going to start in there, and I think it's going to be a hell of a season coming into a new Datacron set as well. So I'm looking forward to it.
Dig that. Sasha Aisha, how about you? Your takeaways, final thoughts, lessons learned.
Yeah, I'll go like final thoughts. For all the positivity I had on the last season, what I enjoyed in threes, I have to admit I've got like a little bit of apprehension about moving to fives and the board again. I'm bored of the board. that 4-4-3 setup that they have for squads where only 3 defensive squads can be hidden. So I that's just kind of, I don't know, it's like a little bit of a dark cloud that maybe I'm just getting frustrated with it. So I sell that just hoping against all odds that there's going to be some shakeup or refresh that we'll hear about at some point. Because yeah, like that's something that I'm not excited to be going to, is only 3 back-wall teams. Not that the matches are entirely determined based on like bait and switch or hide the ball or anything like that, but it just adds another element that I think the opportunity to set more in the back allows for more defensive creativity, and so I'm just lamenting its absence.
That's fair. Fair. It'll yeah, fives is generally, I think most of us have observed this over the last few months, but fives has just become less interesting than threes. And whatever your criticisms of 3 versus 3 may be, the bigger footprint of the board at least makes you feel like there's more going on. So yeah, I appreciate the sentiment, going back, kind of kicking and screaming. All right, appreciate you there, Sasha. And Fatal, last but never least, your takeaways, final thoughts, lessons learned for the folks at home.
Yeah, Cool Divi 3 season. I'll have to take a second look at JMK Ezra and see if Hermodotocron doesn't win me over, although I don't know if I can necessarily fit it in. Or at least I would have to look at some other counters and figure that shit out. I don't know. In terms of 5v5, man, look, all I'm going to say is 5v5 has been pretty fun for me lately, doing the super team shit. At some point, y'all are just going to have to, like, figure out the prisoner's dilemma of, like, look, man, you both can just, like, play heavy. Like, you don't have to do this. Especially, you could even reach out to each other and be like, hey, we don't have to do this. That how important is it? When do you really sometimes that, like, do you absolutely have to take, like, the 100%, like, most optimal choice? Or can you find the fun a little bit? I'm not necessarily advocating against playing to win, but
no, I hear you.
No, I had some, like, excellent matches last 5v5 season where both sides played heavy, and, like, it was incredibly fucking fun. Hey, man, I don't know. Y'all have already agreed to other such formats and, like, stuff like that. So, I mean, the groundwork is there. The template is there that y'all are down to do scrimmages in certain scenarios. So just agree to, like, hey, what if we agree to, like, you must pose such and such a minimum or whatever, and just, like, agree to go about it that way. It's a ripe playing space, is what I'll say.
Yeah, but how ripe is the playing space if the nature of the playing space becomes playful only if you're willing to play, counter to the incentives given by the present meta? You see what I'm saying? Like, I want to believe in what you're saying, and I want more fun in general. But like 5 versus 5 compared to 3 versus 3 generally does afford more opportunities for picking an enemy team apart, cleanups, what have you. You're a little less punished in 5s for wanting to take that risk of going extra heavy. But yeah, outside of agreeing to something that's kind of setting restrictions imposed by the current meta aside, you can always agree to break the meta.
But it doesn't even have to be an implicit agreement or explicit agreement. It's implicit too, man. Look, y'all can drop, like, 3 matches and your rank won't change, and you've got a rune who's boosting win rate to boot. Like, what are you worried about?
It's
like, it's at some point. At some point, you've got some budget to burn if you want.
I can see it. And honestly, the couple times I matched up with Sasha, us both agreeing to set Slacker up top, which admittedly, outside of those couple of matches, I did not do. I'm not amenable to some rules. Like, I like rules that feel like it keeps the game more competitive. Yeah, I'll agree to that type of thing in the future. So I take your point. Yeah. Sorry, you were saying that.
No, I don't know. I have no idea how this next 5v5 season is going to look necessarily, but I'm never reaching out to opponents and like asking them how to play, but like yeah, going super teams in 5v5 recently did feel successful. So like if you're just looking for a different way to play, this might be a decent time to look at it, especially I would be more skeptical on JMK, Ezra, Hyodacron in 5v5, but maybe maybe I'm lowballing on its potential value. But I mean, fuck, man. If that turns out to be good, that's another tool in my pocket to throw down more super team shit. So fucking threaten me with a good time.
Sure.
Yeah, man. I don't know. We'll see.
Okay. Well, as the only other content creator here on our show, where can the folks catch you? Are you going to be doing anything in the off week?
Twitch.tv/PlaybookTV. There's a lot of stuff I want to record. I don't know if it'll be on a stream. I might do some raid stuff on stream though. So
yeah,
just
give the people something to see.
YouTube.com/theplaybook. It's very janky right now, but I have started multi-streaming on YouTube again, but it's not a multi-stream. It's two simultaneous separate streams running at once. It's a shit show.
Yeah, okay, so it's heavy on your computer. I upgraded my computer late last year and it runs it well. I couldn't do that so well with the previous rig, so I understand the feeling.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of people who Twitch is just either awful for them or just straight up does not work for them that have constantly asked me for like, hey, can we do YouTube? And I've tried multiple times, but this should get around all of the issues I've had in the past with YouTube. So that's there. I'm not going to say it's its greatest state at the moment, but it's a work in progress. So,
well, sounds great. Glad to hear that. Great idea to get back onto doing it live on YouTube as well. However, since you brought it up, I know you mentioned a few months ago, and we haven't checked in recently. You were working on a new content series, and you were brushing up your graphic design skills, something to make it look the way that you wanted it to be. How is all that coming? Where are you at with that?
That grand project ran into a technical hurdle, but it wasn't honestly a hurdle that stopped everything. It was just like, fuck, man, some of the magic gets lost. I still don't necessarily want to say it because it's still something I possibly want to do in the future. But what I will say now is, hold me to it. I should be working on videos this week. I will be working on videos this week. I'll be working on videos tonight.
Okay. Well, I mean,
it's not going to be the new shit. It's not going to be the grand vision, but it will be hopefully pretty close to what we're used to.
A step in the right direction. Well, I'll tell you what. We'll put your feet to the fire and see how you did with that next week at the end of the episode, and we wrap up, and we'll see where you're at with that. Yeah.
Sure.
All right. Well, appreciate you guys. As always, an excellent conversation. And thank you, everybody watching at home. Of course, if you know where to catch me live, then you already know about twitch.tv/Tassinix. I also simulcast on my YouTube channel, Tassinix Gaming, where there is a plethora of GAC-related content that I think you may be interested in. Got stuff like the GAC Omicron tier list, which I think I will probably update here during the off week. Let's see. We've also got mod guides on characters and factions that you've asked about. The how-to mod series, starting from the very basic fundamentals all the way up through the recent third video covering your novelty topics, your specialty items. Let's see. A couple other good items to catch over there. Of course, it's a rebroadcasting point for this very podcast, which is native to Spotify, but wherever you catch an episode, check the description. There's a link that you can use to plug into your preferred podcast program and follow us that way. Anything that you enjoy over on the YouTube, please do give a like, hit subscribe to see more. Really appreciate your support. And of course, if you want to go above and beyond the call of duty to support the channel, there are a few ways to do that. There is a Cash App that is $Tassinix. I have a PayPal, which is tassinix@gmail.com. And of course, if you want to get some enhanced scouting power for your own Grand Arena matches, early access to some of my content, and a couple of other perks besides, you may be interested in checking out my Patreon. patreon.com/Tassinix. For any upwardly mobile Grand Arena player, there is something there of interest for you. At $5 a month, you enter the TAS House at VIP access level, where you get early access to the Plotting and Scheming podcast, which is coming out, to our general audience Friday mornings at 8 a.m., but patrons get it as early as Tuesday night within hours of us recording. You also get early access to things like the Datacron Set Guide videos, a couple odds and ends exclusives that I'll make for patrons. There's usually a month or 2 or 3 of exclusivity on videos like that. So all those types of things. And of course, a dedicated text and voice chat for Discord, where you will usually find me lurking. So pop on in and say hi. Thank you so much to Andrew, Banja, Deadpool Kyle 28, JJ's Productions Twitch, Jobin4527, Miasmo, Mus Ross, Raise Malbus, Sam Vimes, Sheepdog 47, Squed, Stark Strategy Gamer, Sweens 14, and White Wolf. Moving on up to the $10 a month tier is VIP Access Plus, where you get your choice. You have a bundled Patreon access to me, and then your choice of either OmegaBot or Hot Utils Patreon. At the start of my streams, I highlight OmegaBot. It's my favorite tool for minimizing my scout time. Nothing else gives you such a strong at-a-glance sense of your opponent's offensive and defensive tendencies. Anybody can use that tool for free to scout their opponent's last week of Grand Arena history, but only patrons can build out a custom report with any number of weeks. You get a downloadable version of that report that has links that you can click going right back into swugga.gg or Insight, just taking you straight to the matchups you're interested in, helping you save more time. Alternatively, you could go for the Hot Utils Patreon, aka Chili, which is the #1 tool for your mass mod management and loadout creation. You can use it to easily switch between your Grand Arena, TB, TW, raid mods. You can comprehensively remod your roster, the way that Fatal and TJ like to do. You can slice through hundreds of mods in seconds, be a big help to your guild and TW, whole bunch of little things baked into it. Regardless, no wrong way to go at VIP Access Plus, so thank you so much to Aussie Mike, Dobby, Esh Sotnikam, Meow for Me, Mr. Tony, Shake23501, Single Malt Jedi, Snack Attack, Striker, Supermard, and Troublefingers. At VIP Access Premium, this is $15 a month for the Double Bot Bundle. So, Patreon access for me, OmegaBot, and Hot Utils all in one subscription. Buying those bots, a la carte on the market costs the same, which is why so many of my patrons say this is their favorite value bundle in all of Swugga. Thank you so much to Argots, Arj, Big Ninja, Duckstab, Darth Link, Brickfrack Paddywhack, General Milan, Ibanek, Johnny B. Ottawa, Kev, Mini GK, Hills, Loon, Twig, Rawling, Saldag, Sir Boss, Sophus, The Lost Womprat, Trevor Boy Gaming, Wilco, and Zoltre. And at the top of the list, in Jester's Club Elite, the one, the only Nomad's Reaper. This madman pops into stream from time to time and makes a splash. He'll drop hundreds of subs, thousands of biddies, incredibly generous support over the years, and he's done it many times. So for that, we say thank you. And of course, last but never least, our special thanks. First, to the Lost Womprat. I'd already gifted him Patron for Life for helping me optimize my OBS setup some time ago, but he's gone above and beyond and helped me set up my Stream Deck, just helping me smooth out the way I do things here for you guys, for me, makes the whole thing better. Really appreciate it so much. To Mrs. T, my wife, thank you for all you do in the background, whether it's bring me another drink, bring me food, or just keeping our daughter from tearing my hat off of my head or destroying the home while I'm trying to be halfway decent at a phone game. And of course, to Dagger, TJ, Sasha Aisha, and Fatal, my co-hosts on Plotting and Scheming. Gentlemen, as always, it is a pleasure and a privilege to record our show together. We are more than 2 years into this, and we're still showing up here on a weekly basis, despite the work and family schedules that we all have. So I appreciate it because I learn from you guys every week. Hopefully the feeling is occasionally mutual, but really it's not about us. It's about the community that's come up around the show. A lot of questions, engagement, discussion on Discord, on YouTube, wherever we should appear. And I have you guys to thank for making the show really, what it is, worth listening to. So thank you guys so much. All right. You have survived. We've made it all the way to the end of this season. Thank you so much for tuning in. And of course, check us out next week. We have the preview episode going into the next 5 vs. 5 season that will be featuring special guest Vexatron, who's had a really great last couple of seasons himself. So he's on a hot tear up. I think he's just about the top 50. So should be a great episode. Until next time, it's been real. It's been awesome. It's been real awesome. Take care.